Okay, let me just start off this video by saying I'm not an appliance expert by any means, but with that said, let's see what's going on here. My washing machine is having difficulty filling with water. The cold side water just started dribbling out, and I think this problem has been getting worse over probably the past year or so until now. It's not filling at all, especially with cold water. The hot works a little better, but that's not working that good either, and I think it rinses with cold water by default for whatever energy saving. Turned the temperature settings different, so you're energizing the cold water solenoid and the hot fill solenoid. It's kind of working it back and forth, and sometimes I get the cold solenoid to fill with water full pressure, normal operation. So I know I had decent water supply. The valves aren't bad. I mean, these are kind of old and scary looking, but they're not clogged. Sometimes, you can have a bad valve, bad hoses, especially rubber hoses could go bad. These are braided, stainless. Sometimes you can have there's screens inside here. Sometimes those could get clogged up. All that other stuff happening when it would work by, switching the water setting, temperature setting. Okay, so I have this control panel popped off. I'm trying to do a load here. Let's see. See, that's cold. It's on the cold setting. This is dribbling out. So I already verified my hoses are clear. My hoses are clear. The valve's good. The washers are clear, or on the back of the where the hoses connect to the washing machine. Sometimes if you play with the temperature setting, go back and forth, energize and de-energize the solenoid. Sometimes the cold pressure will kick in. So that's why it's kind of easy to diagnose this with a bad valve, or bad solenoid. I should say bad solenoid valve. Okay, we do have 120 volts at the cold coil, so we should have should be open all the way. Now if I tap it, that probably won't work, but if I kind of disconnect it, yeah, it's just getting worse. There you go. Now just take a look in here. See, now we got full cold pressure, cold water. So that's why this valve, the cold valve in particular, is sticking, and the hot valve is not quite as bad. It's mostly the cold. And so sometimes when you do a warm load, it'll mix hot and cold, whatever the computer decides how to maintain the temperature. This cold water setting here, right there. So just a bad solenoid valve water control. I do hot load, but let's see, go to hot. Alright, we're at hot. Hot. 120 on the hot valve, which is right. Okay, now it's trying to switch, maintain temperature, I guess, trying to mix it. Heard it switch there. Yeah, it's kind of trying to mix it. I knew that, this is not the issue, and I'll show you we'll test for that to see if, if you have a different issue, you could test for that yourself. It's pretty easy. So first thing off, turn off the power, and we're going to turn off the water. Turn off the water valves, both sides. Have a bucket handy, because there's going to be a little water in here, and some rags, and we'll go ahead and turn those off. Okay, and you'll probably need some channel locks, some pliers like this to remove the hoses, because they're probably been on there a while and they might be a little tight. So after you shut the water off, go ahead and take them off counterclockwise, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Okay, got the hoses off. You got to be little careful. I mean, this is plastic, so don't go too crazy with your pliers. So got the hoses down there in the bucket. So now would be the point where you could turn each valve on, whatever side you're having a problem with. If it's both, to go ahead and test both and see, have the hoses in the bucket or whatever, and see if you got decent pressure. Now, if you don't have good pressure, you might have a bad valve, or you might have a different plumbing issue somewhere else. So you might need to investigate that if there's not enough water coming out. You could have old galvanized piping. Who knows? You might need to call a plumber. Probably it's a bad valve, bad hose. You might, if you're not getting any water through your hoses, you might want to take off the hose and see if water comes out, out the valve decently without the hose. You could have, collapsed hose, especially the rubber ones. Okay, so you went ahead and verified you got good water supply, and you did your testing like I did, and they have a good suspicion that it's the water fill valve. This is the water fill valve I got. There's the part number for this particular model, but you should verify by, searching with your model number, which is normally somewhere under the lid. Mine is like right under here. It should be somewhere easy to see normally. Okay, so now we're going to remove this front panel. This model has 3 1/4-inch screws. I already kind of, put them in halfway because I was tinkering with this with my testing earlier. So there's 3. Okay, just kind of pull it forward and up a little bit. This one, I think it does slide. It does slide a little bit. So I did have to slide it a little to the right. So you do have to slide this one a little to the right. Here's a wiring diagram. Normally they put that in somewhere in the service, the service area. That's good to have. This time I don't really need that. Here's our cold side. You can see the C, and it's just color coded. Again, the power is off. It's unplugged, and there's your hot, so can't really mess it up. And I believe there's only 2 screws. Phillips, they're like a combo 1/4-inch head / Phillips. I'll probably use a 1/4-inch nut driver to get that out. You go ahead, you could unplug these, and then there's your main supply hose going into the washing machine. There's a little hose clamp. You'll need some pliers to get that off. Okay, so go ahead and unplug connectors on the solenoid valves. Kind of move that aside. And they taped some wires onto the fill hose. I might just leave that there. We'll remove this clip. We'll back it off a little bit. Helps to kind of have these angled needle nose pliers. Situation. Squeeze it and work it back. I think on this, let's see, I might need to, they taped some wires to the fill hose. I might need to untape that. Okay, 1/4-inch. You could use a regular Phillips, but use this. Put those aside, don't lose them. Like that. Easy. You can just pull it like that. Watch out. There's water. Last thing you want is to get some water on these circuit boards, which I think I got lucky. A little clumsy. So here it is. Here's the old valve. Okay, and then there's those filters. You can see these are very clean, but you may have, from your earlier inspections, these may be full of, debris, rust, if you have galvanized pipe. But these look really clean. This just mechanically inside. Electrically it's fine, but mechanically inside, the solenoid seals in there, the valves, what have you, are bad. And there's really no fixing it. Some of these come apart, but really it's a waste of time. And once you get them apart, it's probably going to never be the same. So these valves are normally closed, meaning if there's no power, no power coming to these solenoids, the valve is closed. So once the solenoids here get power, it opens the valve, allows water to flow in, whatever, hot, cold, or a mixture of the two, and it comes out here, goes through that hose, fills up your tank. And this washing machine, it just seems like it's filled based on time, not a level. There's not like a level sensor, because it just started washing the clothes. Even though it was set to the highest setting, it started washing the clothes with like very little water. So it's kind of a dumb setting on it. So it just seems like it just fills based on time versus water level more than anything on this particular model. Okay, just verify your parts. This is the new one, this is the old one, and looks the same. It's the OEM part. All the writings on it are the same. Okay, now we'll kind of work this fill tube into place. I wonder if maybe it's better to route the spigots through there first. Nah, not really. Put the hose on first. This go based on your situation. We'll slide that on. Okay, that went on easier than it came off. And we'll put that hose clamp back into place. Looks like I like to put them back at the same place that they were before. Probably not too critical, but that's just me. And kind of work it back through the paneling there. Kind of wipe some of the water here. Okay, and pretty much that's it. We'll go ahead and screw it in. Use your nut driver, 1/4 inch nut driver, or you can use a Phillips screwdriver. Making sure I didn't get any water in these connections. No, you're good there. And we'll put slide these back on like so. Okay, they click on nicely. There you go. And then we'll put on the hoses in the back. Make sure you put your cold supply on the cold on the cold side, hot on the hot. Okay, got the hoses on. I put a little Teflon tape. That's probably totally unnecessary, but that's just me. I just put Teflon tape on for fun. Mostly it's the gasket in there, and the rubber gasket inside these hoses that's doing most of your sealing. So you might just want to get new hoses and see how that goes. And we'll just check for leaks. We'll just wipe it down. Sometimes you'll have a little, dry it down. You have a little water on them from earlier, and just check your valves and check everything for leaks. Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll just put our panel on loosely for now. We won't screw it down right now. Okay, go ahead and plug in the washing machine, and let's test for operation. Okay, this one is dripping a little bit in there. It's probably because the solenoid's new or whatever, but we'll keep an eye on that. And let's see, we'll go ahead and we'll start a load. Put it on high capacity, cold, everything else doesn't really matter. Water's on, power's on. Let's go ahead and press start. Okay, we got cold. Have it set on cold, yes. Okay, cold water right off the get-go. That wasn't happening before.
Excellent.
So that appears to be fixed now, so definitely seems like a good fix. Okay, we'll just cycle through. We'll put it on hot. Okay, it seemed like it changed over. We'll just wait for some hot water to come out. Yeah, it's getting hot. So that's working. Yeah, so definitely it seems to be a lot better. We'll go ahead, we'll put it back to cold. That was our biggest problem. And we'll go ahead and do a load of laundry, which I'm desperate for. been out of the washing machine for a few days and needed to do my laundry like a week ago. So, appears to be successful fix. We'll go ahead and now the power's on, and we'll be careful doing this. Careful where you stick your hands, but just verify on that hose that it's not leaking. I do see a little drop under there. I might want to take a look at that. If you do, I might want to rework that. You might actually need to put a real hose clamp on there. But we'll just take a look. I do see a little drip of water under there. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. If there's a leak, we'll go ahead and power it down. Okay, so I had to basically do the whole job again.
Outstanding.
Now I'm just kind of testing it again. I changed out that clamp, the factory spring clamp, and changed that out and put one of my clamps on, 1/4 inch to 5/8. This worked like really good, perfect size. And probably can't see too good, but down there it's dry. There's no dripping. Yeah, I kept dripping. So yeah, maybe let that be a lesson to you. Learn from my mistakes. Have a clamp ready. These, it's an old washing machine, relatively old. The spring clamps are not that great. So put that clamp on. I basically have to remove everything because there's just not enough working room to slip that hose off without causing any damage, because you can see goes through a metal thing right there, and there's all these wires in the way. There's just not a lot of working room and enough slack on that hose. I just had to do the whole job over again, sad to say, and turn off the water and all that, and remove the hoses and turn off the power and all that. Okay, everything's good. So now you just gotta put the screws back, 3 screws back, screw it up, and screw it up, and then you're done.